first of all, thank you for, yeah, for being a yes to having this conversive view recorded conversation interview about radical honesty, radical simplicity, radical relating, radical responsibility, and really this part where I have this commitment, and you also share this, to become more radically honest. And yeah, I notice my fear is really almost like double or something. And I don't want, yeah, in my anger, I don't want there to be pressure in this space about doing it any certain way or not doing it a certain way, or spilling all the beans, here about everything. And yet there also is this it's almost like radical honesty is a vitamin that I haven't been feeding myself enough. And I have this craving for more and more and more. So this is where the creation of the Radical Honesty Project came from, where I've been reading Brad Blanton's book and inviting people, like, research with me, come share your research with me. Let's create some kind of collaboration, some kind of team, because being the only radically honest person in the room or something like that is not what I want.
Nicole, you said that you crave more radical honesty and that it's a vitamin for you. Will you share more about why is it a vitamin, and why would someone want to be radically honest?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, maybe the word like antidote would be more appropriate than vitamin, in that it would be like this counteracting. I want radical honesty to be happening. I want to be, and I get that for it to happen, it's like, oh, nobody can do it for me. I mean, other people can start radically honest conversations and then I can join in. But if I want to create radical honesty in the circumstances where I have these experiences where I think of something to say, or I feel something and I don't say it, and it starts this, and then once I've done it once, then the next time it's more likely that I'll do it again somehow. And to counteract that, like to be the antidote of that, that's, yeah, that's what I'm craving. Is I'm craving like a counterbalance, like where the scales usually go in the direction of withholding and being dishonest, and that I want something that tips the scales. This is my longing, is for these tipped scales where I risk being honest rather than killing myself in these subtle and sometimes not so subtle ways by not being honest. Because I really notice how it is, it's killing, it's this shutting down, deadening, numbing, cutting myself down to size thing that happens.
I'm learning that through being radically honest and speaking what's really going on in me, it's a doorway to being really intimate and really close with another being. And when I'm not hiding, then I'm like I'm here, I'm fully here. And it's here and now where the magic happens. So when I'm withholding things or hiding things or not saying what's really going on, then like a part of me is away from the relating space and being present. And so I love being radically honest. I love doing the experiment of saying what's really going on and what I really think and feel, and how liberating it is to say that, to be a part of teams like with yourself, where I can say what's really going on and I'm still being loved.
Yeah.
That's really healing. And I feel really scared. I feel scared to be so radically honest as well. Like even right now.
I mean, there's so much about it. Like what you said about being radically honest and with, I mean, this brings up context. Like here in the relational space that we have, there's already a context of something like your radical honesty, my radical honesty are welcome here. And this is so different from the context of modern culture where we're lying and uh, or just withholding about especially certain kinds of thoughts and feelings it's this is the norm, this is the how it goes. Mm. And there's even more in like in the thick of modern culture. Like I think of advertising, it's like full of outright lies, and there's even laws against misleading people in advertising, but all of advertising is misleading people. So to go against to go against the grain is still, there are parts of me that they're just probably like emotions from long ago. It's a habit to break. This withholding and pretending is a huge habit to break. And the fear that even if it's you, the fear that if I'm radically honest with you and I let you know something about what's going on in me that would be one of those things that's especially potentially delicate or disruptive somehow, that what if it does kill intimacy in our relational space? What if you do get hooked or you know react in some kind of way where you don't like that kills the intimacy, and that you change your mind about wanting intimacy with me? And the series is, I want the series because I want to be able to unpack it in a space where there's this team that are all going for more radical honesty, so that then when I'm out in the world and I'm in engaging with people who I'm even more scared to be radically honest with, I I have some, I have a team who has my back, especially to keep going. this was one of my discoveries in the last year or so when I've been doing more experiments, was this tip, like this hint that's just like keep going, like, because sometimes when the radical honesty is happening and the person does react or does start feeling something, it's tempting to be like, okay, you know what, don't worry about it, like, let's end this, close the space, and then it's going into the, pretend it didn't happen, or pretend that you didn't just open Pandora's box. And but to keep going, or to even just temporarily pause a space and then open another one and say, can, like, continue the conversation. That's been a big, something I've used over and over. Come back to it, come back to it, come back to it until all the layers are off.
I'm I'm having this experience again of there being something around my head energetically, and there's fear about being recorded and putting some pressure on to do it well.
Mm.
And so I'm just noticing that, being quite liquid about it, because I was thinking about radical honesty this morning, and was thinking about the clarity that I have about it. And it's different than just being in a space and discovering in the here and now and you what is radical honesty. And I just feel really scared about that domain, because anything can come out.
Yeah.
Right? Anything could come out of me, anything can come out of you, and yes, there are consequences to that. And I love creating a culture that that's been happening in possibility management, game world, and woman of earth. A culture where these deep parts of the underworld can come out into the surface, and people are still there. Like, you're not bad or wrong for having an underworld, and that actually more becomes available when that comes out into the surface, because it's not being pushed down or coming out sideways. It's not unconscious. And I feel scared that in modern culture it's not so often seen that way. So if something from the underworld comes out, it can be seen as bad or wrong. And then so of course people want to hide things. Then it stays kind of locked up in the closet, just stewing and ruminating and getting even more twisted. And so I feel really glad about being on a path of radical honesty as also a doorway to more of my being,
Mm.
to more of me being in the world, because I'm not pushing it down as bad or wrong. And then also being less easily offended.
Yeah.
So sometimes I've had people be radically honest with me, and I'm triggered by it, and and then that becomes a gateway for me. Though it's a gateway to me healing something, and again then through that getting access to more of my being. And I want that. I want a culture of not tiptoeing around on eggshells and
Yeah.
not daring to say what we really think and feel. It's bullshit, actually, bullshit way to live. And that's when it's dishonest, it's fake. I feel just, I feel scared to look bad or stupid. Like sometimes I'll show the more vibrant or radiant or clear sides of me, but what about the messy, ugly, darker sides?
Yeah.
And so I'm getting that this radical honesty project is a space to really to bring it all out.
Yeah. In the team spaces, like, yeah, where there's in any space where there's an agreement, like, we're going to be radically honest, and it's like there's this invitation to dare uh, to cross the line, and and then find out where the line is, like find out if what I think is honesty is actually bullshit. There, I had an experience today where somebody told me something that they that for them was honesty, and I, when it landed in the space, I was like, well, wait a minute, this lines for me like a projection. And so then it was, yeah, the space got scary because my clarity was, this is a projection, and you know, can you work with that? And it got yeah, luckily another person was there and was able to ask another question and trying to make it like not set, like the two of us were kind of stuck in this, like, oh, what's really going on here? And the third person kind of opened it up, and then things could happen. And another example that came to mind of the power of radical honesty to be able to say what's going on in the underworld happened in the process I had yesterday with Samantha, where I was opening up this space after I got really condensed and tangled up in myself, and it was really in my head and in this huge here and now. When there was something, and it was like, until I could say it, it was there. When it was still there, and it was in me it was in me as a, and when I could say it, because the person was like up for it, it could be out, and it was done, and it was gone, and it was no longer in me to say, but it took saying it to not have it, and it's something I didn't want in me.
Nicole, I have an experiment to try right now.
Okay.
Like how how can you and I be more radically honest right now? Because I notice I have something going on that I'm not putting on the table. And so I want to put it on the table.
Yeah, go.
And it's so I already thought that I want this video of us being radically honest and having this converse of you. I want to put it on my website. I want more videos of myself in action, speaking, holding space, and put them on my video so people can actually see me and um, see me in action. And so
Yeah.
there's this layer of I really want this to go well, and
Mm.
the layer of wanting to look good. And like I'm angry about that because that's a layer of not being honest when I'm trying to put on a bit of a show. Like I know what I'm talking about. Um, it's really that I know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about here, and when yeah, there's there's so much that I don't know, and that's what
Yeah.
makes this so alive because discovering right here, right now with you, things that have not came out of me before.
Mm.
And I have that when I'm being recorded. There's this subtle pressure or little voice that I want this to go well.
Yeah.
And then I'm not totally here, not totally present. So that's me. How can you be more radically honest?
Well, first I have a question. Like, is there anything that you would, if the recording was off, and this is hypothetical, but like do your best to look in that direction. If the recording was off, is there something that you would say or do
Mm.
that you've been not saying or doing because the recording's on?
Yes, what comes is I feel joy about radical honesty, and I want to bring that across because it's not this like boring thing, oh, I have to be really honest now and this is boring and hard work. But like really I'm just loving so much the doors that are opening for me through being on the path of being more radically honest, because there were things that I used to hide, still hide, even from myself.
Mm,
And so getting this stuff out, it's like I'm more here, I'm more available, I'm more present, I'm more alive, and then I don't have to walk around like holding things in, like being in a space of people and sitting on so much stuff and having it going on in the background. um and it, yeah, like putting blocks to intimacy with people. So what's becoming available with this being radical honesty is I can just say the thing. I can just
yeah.
put the thing on the table.
Do you have a legend of when you did that that comes to mind?
Yes. I mean, I did it last night, but let me see. Well, I did it last night. I've already told you about it. Uh, when I was in the having a potluck here in the house, we were having dinner. There was a group of about 8 people, and there was, okay, I'm getting that I could have been even more radically honest. I could have been even way more radically honest. To be honest, it was a gentle approach. I was trying to be skillful.
Mm.
Um,
And I mean, this is why the research team, this is why the series is because there's maybe there's always a a further degree of radical honesty that a person could reach. Yeah, I wouldn't want you to kill the legend because you could have been more honest.
thank you. I will then tell it.
Yeah, go.
So in the house I'm living in, we have weekly potlucks. So we come together and eat food and have sharing circles, something like that. And the last 2 potlucks before going to this 1 month trainings in Poland recently, I was radically honest and said that I feel scared about what's being created in these potlucks, and I don't like it. And I said, um, so everyone's kind of all over the place and um, not really being with each other. And so I was putting it on the table, but I didn't really have a proposal about where else to go,
Mm.
what else to try. And one woman said, "Oh, do you not like superficial conversation. And I said, no, that's not not what I want. And then last night, so there was a group of 8, and this time I didn't have the same reaction about what was happening, but I was in the space, and it was happening again where I was quite clear, this is not the conversation I want to be having, and this is not the quality of relating I want to be having. And the space was moving really fast, and people were talking over each other, and and like a deeper quality of relating was not coming through, feelings. And so I just kind of said it into this space, and I am doing an experiment right now of checking what's the conversation I really want to be having with you, rather than just going along with what you're doing.
Can
And
I
I said,
pause there?
yes.
I'm just noticing with you telling it this time, I'm noticing something I didn't notice when you told me about it before, which is that I'm noticing that, and especially it stands in contrast to what you said about your first radical honesty experiment in the other potluck, where you just kind of like, I don't know, in a way you were honest about the judgments you were having. And what I'm getting now is that you could see that you could judge it, or you could not judge it. So you had this gap, and then you were immediately were experimenting, and then you were honest about what you
Mm-hmm.
were doing. That's so cool that it can be that fast. Like the honesty of what's happening, I can be a few steps behind my own honesty and not even notice it. This is so cool. Wow.
Mm. Yes. Yeah, the gap, there was a gap. So it was very clear that here's me in my space, and then here's these people, and I could go down that path that I did before of being like, I don't like this, I want something else. And instead I'm going into the path of like, okay, how can I open a space to the conversation I do want to have, and invite people into it. And then I just, even just speaking that first line into the space, and then I looked around and I said, like, I'm looking around and there's so much going on in each of you, like as if you're all sitting on so much stuff, and I want to hear what it is.
I love it. It's like your honesty was inviting other people's honesty.
Yeah.
Uh, I love this too because I mean, you said it went one way before the Poland trainings and another way after the Poland trainings. And these trainings in Poland are so full of processes and initiations and healing, and it's like this is such great evidence that it works. It works. And the distinctions of possibility management are so helpful when it comes to being more radically honest, because I can be honest that I have, when I say I could, there's so many different parts that I could be talking about. And in a way, I heard you say, that rather than speaking as the one who was, not liking how the conversations were going, you could speak as the one who knew that they had a part that wasn't liking how the conversations were going, and do something else. And I love how often in these radical honesty experiments that I've been doing, I've been able to put it all out there, all the different facets of my being, to be able to say, even if it's in really simple terms, like with you, I might say it's my box, my gremlin, or I'm in a child ego state, or I've slid into this other ego state. But with anybody, I could say, there's a part of me that is thinking this and wanting this, and there's another part of me that is completely opposite to that. And then when I think about what I really want, what I notice is, and I can be discovering it in real time, because as the layers peel off, I'm I can be with the person who I'm talking to while I'm being with this emergent version of myself that is inevitably how it always is. I mean, who's I think this is a big part of the modern culture bullshit, is that how I am is how I always am, and I'm still like that. It's just, I mean, I suppose it can be the case, but yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to live in a context that is just this I am what I am and that's how it always is thing. It's just not no, it's not fun for me.
Multiple doors open when I hear you. Multiple doors opened. Um, about pathways to go down. One of them is I get this, it's kind of an energetic sensation of what's possible when kind of peeling back these layers, that you I'm getting closer to this like really real, raw, authentic like gem
Yeah.
on the inside, and so close to reality, like much more closer to reality. And I see the same in you when you're speaking about it. And it's like, ah, I feel joy to be close to reality. And then I don't even know, like maybe even there's so many more layers um, to peel back.
Yeah, that's something I want to. I love it. I'm going to write this down. This is something I want to watch for as I go about, the rest of my day. What I'm thinking about is that it can happen so fast that all of a sudden there's all these layers and I'm hiding so much. And I get that sometimes it's one thing then another, and there's a domino effect where my box comes. I become my box again, and it's like all these layers of pretense, of pretending, of going into an identity, raising my numbness bar. Sometimes it's related to the purpose that I'm on. Now I'm on this purpose, and all the other purposes kind of disappear or something. But to track that, like to watch for it, and to, with the purpose of discovering new ways, like new tools to do the other thing, like for getting back into this more unfolded, revealed way of being.
Mm.
I think of the tool that Samantha used yesterday in the process that was so effective, which was a tool that I've thought of before, but not so often used. I can't remember if I've actually used it before. I think I have, but I'm not remembering. But it's one where it's like a meta conversation starter, and it's a visceral way of doing it, to say. And what she did was, like I was sitting in my chair. It was right here in the same spot at my desk, and the instruction was like stand up and step back, and then be honest about what what was just happening. So it's one step removed because it goes into the past, but it's still it peels off layers that maybe I couldn't peel off while I was still in that position. And the first time I thought of doing that was in a situation where there was reactivity was happening, and I thought, oh, if we did that, maybe we could talk about it from another place, from a more like a place more in reality. I, so I'm yeah. I wonder what other tools there are, like what other gaps there are, what other ways of going nonlinear there are to leverage or like to, I don't know, empower myself, empower other people to be more radically honest.
Mhm.
Wow, I love that. Like we're gonna get to do this. We're gonna find new ways. Yay.
Mhm.
This brings me back to what you were saying about joy. And I feel sad about how often it is my authentic joy that I then cover. Yeah.
I notice that I'm still in this, like trying to do this well. Like if I take myself back and look at what's happening, it's like this a bit rigid, and trying to do this well.
Yeah.
And I feel angry about that, about just modern culture having to look good all the time. And
Did you answer the question when I asked it last time? Or or maybe what I want is just to do it again. Like is there something you would be saying right now or doing differently if you weren't putting on the show of looking good?
it, it's the same as last time. First thing that comes is joy. Just that, I mean, I'm enjoying this conversation. I enjoy being in this, the unknown, researching about this topic. And I also get that I can be, I can have awareness about what's going on in me. So like a first step, revealing it to myself. And yet I can choose where I go. So it doesn't always have to be that I'm putting on the table my judgments or whatever it could be. Like I can choose where I'm going. And I've also been thinking about Anna Maria Diaz's What Is Happening Space,
Yeah.
and just remembering, I didn't go to it, but just this sensation of how great it is to just say out what I'm really what I really think and feel. Yeah.
What was that?
I don't know. I was just checking in if, yeah, what would I be doing if this was not being recorded? Does Are you impacted by being recorded? Do you change?
From time to time in the last kind of weeks and months, I've noticed I've noticed that I've noticed myself do or say something or not say something because I knew it was being recorded. And if there's still things that I would or wouldn't do that I'm not noticing, it I think part of it is like, I mean, this is kind of a contrived space. The conversation had a purpose. Recording it to share it was part of the purpose. So within the space of the recording, it's already it's not so much that then it's dishonest as much as it's on purpose. So there's a distinction too, that you said something just a few minutes ago that spoke to this too, where yeah, about choosing. I think there's a difference between the irrelevant stuff that I filter out and the stuff that I hold back. That if I were to be honest, like that I'm masking so as to put some kind of front. I mean, here's a question. What if how you what if how you're showing up here right now is honest, and that you that you're looking good is actually how you look right now, and it's not that you're putting a mask or pretending or do you get what I'm saying?
Yes, but then I get that I'm looking bad in my looking good. I'm looking bad in my trying to look good.
Yeah, yeah, in order to avoid looking good, which is bad, it sneaks in, hey?
Like, yeah, so I said yes to being on joining the Radical Honesty Project because after being in the trainings in Poland, I realized that a big part of my underworld I'd been hiding from myself and other people, and that I would not speak out certain things because I felt scared it would be bad and I'd be punished if I really spoke these things out. And now I'm practicing not doing that, and I'm speaking things to people that I wouldn't normally say.
Yeah.
Um, and and then I had a conversation with you and about the radical honesty, and I was a yes. I want to keep practicing this. Um, so not filtering myself or censoring what I have to say, and then also just through my pain about filtering my impulses in the moment, like sometimes being in a space and having an impulse but then not bringing it and putting a lid on, that's just become so painful that I just don't want to live like that anymore, and I want to get this lid off, and when I have an impulse I can speak it,
Yeah.
and that actually I'm more on people's teams. It's more a force of love when I'm being real, and 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 so yeah, i'm I'm in for that. And then you wanted to have a converse with you, and I'm here. And, and I feel angry about this culture of like, it's loving and nice to not say the thing,
Yeah.
especially when the thing is like, I see something in you, a way that you're keeping yourself small, hurting yourself, abusing yourself, whatever. And it's nice to not say it. And it just keeps a bit unconscious. Um, and so people are just leaving each other alone, just abandoning each other, and might not even notice that they're doing it.
Yeah.
So bringing this stuff into the light of consciousness is like, okay, I get to be on your team because I can actually dare to say what I see, and it's a force of love, and I'm willing to risk you hating me for it.
Yeah.
But I'm on your team when I do that. And then not adapting to this, yeah, nice, not dangerous, censored culture. I'm just angry about it, and I'm trying something different. And so I'm getting radical honesty is this space to be real. Like you can actually come here and say the thing that you really want to say. You can
Yeah.
take the lid off, bring your impulse, say, fuck you, I hate this. I want to get out of this space. I don't like your t-shirt. What is going on? And clear the pipe so that you can get this real, authentic aliveness and expression coming through. So then you can, or I or you can really start being clear and on people's teams.
Yeah.
I think that's what I hold back. Actually, I'm holding back clarity and anger and a kind of roughness, like a roughness
Yeah.
of being.
Yeah, I think that's often what I'm holding back too is doing these saying these things, doing these things that would like rock the boat. And
So will you go now? Like what? How will you rock the boat?
well, the first thing that comes to me is that already our relational space has a lot of honesty in it. So I don't think there's anything boat rocking that's right here right now. If I were to, I mean, I think we'll end up doing this in the series would be for to do role plays. Like if you were to play a role with someone who, as someone who with whom I am not being honest, like I I would have I would have things there like immediately, which just wow really goes to show that how a space is held determines what's possible in the space. Because with me holding my side or my share of our relational space, you holding it, and both of us committed to radical honesty, what becomes possible is beyond like when you're in your identity rather than shifted into an identity role play for the benefit of my expansion, like you were just talking about. Wow. Yeah, I think I'm really getting another layer of another level of what becomes possible and with radical honesty and what becomes possible when I get to practice it, when I get to study it and use it. And this I had this thought earlier and I didn't say it, but there was this part about studying radical honesty. I mean, a little bit this is what you've been pushing in this call is that uh, like not just talking about it but doing it, using it, not just studying it but using it. and and I think there's this way of studying it so that I can use it, so that I can keep using it and I can level up how I'm using it is is the purpose of the space. And yeah, I don't want to do a role play right now for the sake of me being more radically honest in this call space, partly because I'm scared. I'm scared if someone's heard all of the layers that I hold in, if the person I asked you to role play saw it, or yeah, just I'm scared to do that. I'm scared to do that on something that would go out into the public domain. Yeah, which I mean is another way of saying that like I'm a liar. I am a big fat liar a lot of the time. And everything you've said about your joy about radical honesty and the discovery that you've had and this spaciousness that you've been expanding into for yourself to be with reality, in reality, to create intimacy. It's like this comes around to it again, is this I hate how much how dishonest I am. I hate what it does to my relational spaces. And yet I'm so scared, especially with people who aren't on this path, who aren't committed to honesty, who haven't got to the part where they're like, I would rather go for honesty and let the chips fall where they may than keep being nice and good and kind and sweet and pleasant and comfortable. It's really with those people that I have the hardest time being honest. And
Guys, like what?
yeah, because of all those fears that they're, because I feel scared that when they get triggered, they're going to turn me into a persecutor, and they don't have the maps of low drama and high drama, so they, and like what, how am I going to hold space for them to be triggered without getting triggered myself? And then yeah, the story that if they don't have the tools that, I mean, I searched for 50 years of my life, well maybe 40 years of my life, for tools so that I could handle those kinds of situations more responsibly, more elegantly, more effectively. And a lot of people don't have those tools. And you know, the hardest time to introduce a new tool is when it's most urgently needed. And yeah, and I feel scared. I feel scared of being that person too, who's, I feel scared of coming off as self-righteous if I'm like, look at, you're reactive right now and a tool you could use is this. Wow. Really, like right now I'm feeling joy that I have you in my life. I have other people in my life who if not, who if they're not making radical honesty a kind of central research, that it's still part of their ongoing research and commitment to, and they have commitment to that. And I feel mad. I do. I feel mad when I think of the people that I struggle to relate with, who don't make the expansion of their own consciousness their hobby.
There's so much to look at. There's so much to look at
Yeah.
in this domain. And like I'm angry that there's this, pretty much through the whole call, there's been this, there's something else going on in me, just this concern about the recording and what will people think? Like, what will people think of this conversation? Is like, what is this conversation?
Mm.
And
Were
if it were,
you, I mean, it sounds like this is something you could experiment about. One thing that comes to mind is that I've been recording videos for 4 years longer, but there's so many recordings of me on the internet by now. And sometimes I think it's just a matter of practice to be like, oh yeah, the camera's rolling, and it's like normal or something.
I, I've yeah, I've recorded videos, but there's always been this. Well, I've not recorded many, but maybe I've done a few. So still this layer of wanting it to be a particular way, like holding back, showing the mess.
Mm.
But what's the experiment of what was the experiment?
Yeah, it would be to, I don't know, something like record yourself once a day for a month with and put it online, like no matter how it is. And there's also something like there's also the kinds of recordings where it's not so much about, well, for me, there's been these times when I've recorded myself and then I've deleted it and tried again, and sometimes like 6 or 7 times, not because I want to look good, but because I want to get across what I want to get across effectively.
Mm, yes, I've done that too.
Yeah,
Have you got across what you want to get across in this call?
I think so. I mean, what I wanted to get across was the juiciness of the research. I don't know if that's come across, but
I want to be I want to
I'm
be
in touch
radically
with the
honest.
juiciness of the research right now.
Okay.
Go ahead.
When you shared earlier that when I said, will you rock the boat? And you said there's nothing in our relating space. Actually my bullshit detector was going, mm-hmm. And I didn't say anything. Like my sense was, well, there probably is many things you've not said. And if you said it would rock the boat. And then I start to feel scared. And that's where I'm scared to go. I'm scared to go there.
Yeah.
Scared of confrontation. So then there's this layer of wanting to keep things harmonious and well.
And is that a feeling or an emotion?
That's an emotion. I'll write it down.
Awesome.
Because again, that's like what I said about I can choose where to go.
Yeah.
And you can, is that really a necessity to,
I think part of it is about if you're choosing where to go to avoid something, or if you're choosing where to go because that's where you want to go without the avoiding part.
yeah,
And I think that's what I think it's authentic that I don't have something right now in our relational space that I'm avoiding saying. I mean, there's lots I could say. Like, I haven't seen you in that fleece before except for a few days ago. Where did you get it? Like, but that's like, I mean, I don't want to put my time and my breath into talking about that. Uh, I mean, I could come up with all kinds of questions, but none of them are as interesting to me as the things we're already talking about, or as fun for me, or as juicy for me. So I mean, I could start asking you about all kinds of things about research I know you're doing, which might put you on the spot to be honest about.
we ask a dangerous question.
Okay, how is it going in your research about the white widow strategies that you started to discover that you've been using unconsciously? How's that going?
I am in a team now, space to research about what I'm doing with my sexual energy and what it's for. And I'm also going to have a space to explore it further. Um, honestly, I've not had a lot of spaces about it. And it's more been about just feeling really angry about how much attention I've given to men in my life, in playing games, in wanting their attention, playing games with them, giving them a little bit of this, a little bit of, a little bit of sexual energy, taking it back. And I just feel really angry about that. And so now I'm holding this space and not having that in it. Like my life is not about men, and I'm not interested in these games. So, and even there's like a new man moving into the house, and he was in the at the potluck yesterday, and he was having some sexual, like shooting a bit of sexual energy in his speech and his questions, and I could notice where there's this pull to get hooked by it and smile and shoot a bit of sexual energy back. So I'm really using my anger to not do that, and doing the experiment of standing diagonally. So I stand diagonally, so there's not this kind of
Face off.
face on, because I've also had moments with men that like they stand facing me and there's just all this sexual energy coming out. So I'm like standing sideways and looking here, rather in the eyes. And I'm just finding I'm just thriving when my life's not about that. And I'm focusing on my projects, being with women, just being full of my own energy. And that it's just not interesting for me. And I'm going to have these spaces to keep looking at it, because it is in my underworld to, dare I say it, that I've twisted my sexual energy and made it like as if there's some sort of kink master in my underworld. Like
Mm.
that's really daring for me to say. But I'm just angry about that. I'm angry about it. It's, again, I have the power to choose, and it's just not a path that I'm interested in going down, because I felt the pain about the consequences of it. It hurts me, it hurts other people.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah. Thank you for your honesty. And if there was another layer of honesty to go about it, would you say something from that?
I feel scared that I'll never be able to relate with men really again, that I won't be able to have an intimate relating space, because this will always be active, that I'll always get hooked into some sort of twisted sexual energy game. I feel sad saying that.
Yeah, you feel sad that you feel scared that you won't won't be able to have authentic relating and intimacy with a man.
Yeah. Yes, and I haven't felt about it for a few days, honestly.
Mm.
Like, really, this is the first time I'm feeling for more deeply for a few days.
Will you write that one down?
Yeah, just got this pile of emotional healing processes that I haven't done. Like, God, I feel scared that I just bullshit myself. Like, I think there's been this layer of not caring. I don't need men in my world, but now I actually feel sad about it.
Yeah.
And just jumping to something else now.
So was I about to go ahead, jump first?
Have you shared already somewhere about how this began for you? Like how,
The Radical Honesty Project?
yeah, and
I have, in that I recorded 10 weeks of half hour to hour long calls that I had when I made this next commitment to these 10 weeks of reading Brad's book, making time for making time to focus on, like, to study radical honesty so that I could be using it and experimenting with it. And out of those 10 calls, there are 8 that are recorded that are online as the Radical Honesty Project Edgecast. And I talk a lot about where it came from. And I mean, it evolved as I was doing those 8 weeks. Like, but I talk about where it came from, and then I talk about what I've been trying, and then what I've been trying changes during those 10 weeks. And it already changed before I started the 10 weeks of recordings. So that's, I think it's pretty well documented.
okay.
And where I wanted to jump to was, yeah, just thank you. Thank you for that, which you just did, was this brilliant uh, example of how transformational, like how much transformation relies on radical honesty or is empowered by radical honesty.
And I noticed a change in me since getting to that deeper layer. Like I'm closer to myself, like my heart and what I feel and care about.
Yeah, you're softer now.
Mm. Go on, Nicole. Your commitment to this is inspiring.
Mm, yeah, thank you. I notice I have one thing that has been there for me that I haven't said. It's not, it's more for the context of the call, which is that, or the purpose of the call is about sharing more about the possibility, or sharing more about radical honesty, but also the possibility of people joining the 5 weeks of team spaces. And I like, what's been here is this fear that it might not happen, that I'll change my mind, or that enough people won't jump on board, and then that I would cancel it because we're doing it anyway in the frequent spaces that we have. So yeah, this fear about, I don't know how it will go. And yeah, then this anger that I want this series to exist. I want people to find out about it and join and have their lives be enriched, and that each of us would get to have our lives enriched too by the people who would join, um, in addition to Ethna, who's already put her name down. So that was just there. And it's, oh wow, it's a week today that it starts. I think, I'm pretty sure it's Wednesdays. But I'll put the logistics about registering in the series in the show notes on the YouTube channel. And then for it to go on your website, do you want to just link it to my YouTube channel, or do you want me to send you a file that you can do what you want to do with it? Link it to your
I'm really
own.
scared to share this with anyone, so I'll message you about it.
Okay. All right.
It's closed.
Yeah. Thank you, Laura.